Hello students, today we will study about the international organization and one very famous United Nation. And in detail, today we will discover and we will study about the evolution of United Nation after the Second World War, its organism like Security Council, General Assembly, International Court of Justice. So all these things we will study, and what are the reforms that UN taken, and what is the role played by United Nation in the international politics, and some of the other organization also like IEA or MST International. So all these things we will study in this class. So let's begin with this topic of international organization. So first we need to understand why international organization is important and why they are created. So because the international organization provide a platform for the discussion of the different issue that was emerging in any country, or something that affects the whole globe. So that's why this international organization was very important, because when Second World War was ended, so there was a necessity for this any organization, so that we can stop the crisis of war in near future. So these are things that we are going to study. First thing that's said about the UN, that UN was formed after the uh, failure of the League of Nations, and a lot of crisis was created. And the one secretary general, Dag Hammarskjöld, was said that the United Nations was created not for to take the humanity to the heaven, but to save humanity from the hell. So what does it mean? Because this platform was created to safeguard the humanity for any sorts of humanitarian crisis, like world war happened, or so that near future there was no human crisis created that led to the death of thousands or crores of millions of people. So that was the first demand for the United Nations. But later on, as the time passed, a lot of new responsibility taken by the United Nations, a lot of new organizational setup was added to the United Nations. So come to the next slide, this evolution of the United Nations from the post war to the ideal to the global actor. So how this United Nation emerged? As I told you, on ashes of World War II leads to the creation of United Nation, and League of Nations was already failed. So for the upholdment of the United, for the human right, for the voice of the people, we need our organization. And so a new era of multilateralism, that we need a new organization, and UN was one of those. So this was created but later on, when the Cold War was ended, so a new things need to be taken, because now the world is not bipolar, because United Soviet USSR was now ended. Now only one power remains, that is USA. So in a unipolar world, or we can say a multipolar world, United Nations also needed to change its way of doing things. So a lot of new change was started, because and even we started seeing that United had a strong influence of US also after this, because now after the end of Cold War, it also started a era of US hegemony. In earlier classes we studied how US had a hegemony and tried to hegemonize the whole world. So this also led a challenge in front of the United Nations, how United going try to be neutral in this situation, and it played its role of de-accelerating the conflicts without any biasness. So these all things were also started, and the end of Cold War era expanded the role of United Nations, because a lot of frontal war between a lot of country in Middle East, a lot of crisis started in Africa, a lot of humanitarian coups and crisis started. So the role of United Nations now increased a lot. Even some of the new challenges, not only humanitarian crisis, but new things like terrorism was came, and the environmental climate change challenge. So these are the new thing came into the picture, or we can say a new challenge in front of the United Nations to solve. So these are the new things that started. And here I have given the list of you for the foundation of the United Nations. You just need to look into it for a while, so that you can understand how United Nation framed. Now let's come to the next slide. UN principal organs. So there was different organs in the United Nation that's cooperated together for the smooth functioning of the United Nation. The first one is the Security Council. What is Security Council and what it's do? So the Security Council do for the, it maintained international peace and security, and there was 15 member in Security Council, and 5 in 15 member, 5 are the permanent member. What are the who are these permanent member? These permanent member is USA, UK, Russia, France, Germany. So these are the, sorry, UK, US, Russia, China, and France, not Germany. So these 5 countries are together in the Security Council. These are the 5 permanent member. What is the difference between the permanent and non-permanent member? These 5 permanent member was always been the Security Council, and 10 non-permanent member will change with years, and new permanent member will come for a tenure of like 2 year, 4 year. So these are the difference between the one difference between the permanent and non-permanent member. And one other thing, these 5 permanent member have a veto power also, because with these veto power they can struck down the any special demands by the Security Council, or the any special demand issued by the other member states. So that's how, with using a lot of veto power, even through the veto power of China, India not getting the permanent membership or in the seats in UNSC. So the China use its veto against the India on many places. So this was the one uh, Council of United Nations. And other is the General Assembly. What is that? This General Assembly is the UN deliberatory body where all the states have a equal representation. So in the United Nations Assembly, whatever the member countries that join the United Nations will get a representation in United Nations General Assembly. So in this General Assembly, the important issue of global general concern were discussed, and a lot of new recommendation and the policy were formed for the betterment of the global world. So this is how General Assembly work. Even voting system was there for any issue were raising. So these are the second assembly. And the third one is Economic and Social Council. So what does it do? That as the name suggests, international economic and social cooperation and the development was starts. It coordinates the activity of the United Nations, specialized agency of the United Nations like World Health Organization or United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization. So these platform work for the human health in form of epidemic or anything, like in Corona times. World Health Organization, a lot of work was done that time period, and not only in epidemic or in some health emergency. In normal days also, a lot of work for the human women's or child health. A lot of program was done by these, a lot of program run by these, or a lot of budget was sanctioned by the World Health Organization for the betterment of the children or women's in the developing or least developing countries. So these are the one thing. And what is the UNESCO? So UNESCO work for the children education or for the cultural development. A UNESCO World Heritage site, very famous, we all know these things. So these are the some of the work of the UNESCO or WHO. And the next thing is the International Court of Justice. So as you all know, what does it implies? International Court of Justice is a judicial organ of the government. It settles the legal dispute between the countries or between the states. It also called as the World Court because on the international platform, it was a one of the organization that delivered justice to the people. So it's also important for upholding the international laws. So this is the another organization of United Nations. So these are the These are some of the principal or the main international or main or organs of the United Nations. With the help of these organization, United Nation work properly. And a lot of things like United Nation High Commission for Refugees, United Nation UNSCR, United Nation Development Program. So a lot of other things was also done under the United Nation. So these different programs help for the human development and works for the betterment of human society. And they try to uphold the lower class, or they try to uphold the least developing country who are not able to uphold their own people, or they are not in such a man and such resources available to them so that they can do their own self all these things. So on that picture, on that place, UN came into existence. Even in any sort of international crisis or coup, UN send his peacekeeping forces for the settlement. So all these things done under the United Nations. Now let's come to the next thing, the UN reform after the Cold War, adapting to a new era. So, as I told you earlier, also the collapse of United Soviet Union created a new challenge. A lot of new things started. Now it's because now no block system was there. So these are thing was created new challenges. And USA also now trying to hegemonize world politics. So this is also created one of the challenge. And expansion of the roles, because now UN not only related to the any war situation only, because a lot of different crisis also started. Peacekeeping operation was started in Somalia, Rwanda, Balkans region, because during Iraq war also, Gulf war also, a lot of role played by these United Nations. And new threats in front of, I already told you what the new threats like: terrorism, transitional crimes, ethnic conflict, weapons of mass destruction. These are the issues that was under the United Nations. And this is the map of United Nation peacekeeping operation that was held under the United Nation. So you can see here on the world map where different political coup was done, and most of this you can see in the Asia side, like like in Africa or Middle East. So you can see here the most conflicted region is Africa area or Middle East region. So these are the major conflict area of UN peacekeeping operation. You what you need to do, you just need to be remember the year of the different coup. Maybe the question framed in that way, which year which coup was happened, and try to give series of these peacekeeping operation under the UN. So just you need to remember that. And here I have given you the list of the United Nations generals. Maybe chronological question may be framed for these, like you have to just give in a chronological order the name of the different secretary general, like Tragweli to the Kofi Annan here as given. So maybe question may be asked in this sense also. And now let's come to the UN reform addressing the structural and procedural challenge. So what is these issue? After the Cold War, a lot of expansion voices was started, because first issue of Security Council. Even today there is a lot of demand. We used to see in the newspaper, like question asked from the India side also. We had a demand of expansion of Security Council, because our and the criticism of veto power. With this veto power, some of the important issue or some of the very majoritarian votes are just denied by the one veto power. So this is also some sort of faulty mechanism. So people wanted to expand the Security Council, so that not only 10 but other members could also include in this Security Council. Last time in 1965, United Nations Security Council was expanded from the 11 to 15 member, but now no change was after that was happened. So we wanted an expansion of the United Council. And the second thing is efficiency and transparency, because a lot of corruption was also there. in the United Nation Council. We don't know where the money was used. So we need a effectiveness and implementation of the policy. A transparency should be assured in the United Nation procedural government. And the third one is the finding and finance. It was also an issue in the United Nation. We need a lot of fund issue, because most of the earlier the fund, when US used to give fund for the United Nations, so a lot of the US influence seen in the United Nations. So this also led a lot of issue. So now United Nation wanted more funds from its member country, so that organization can smoothly work, and we need to keep checks on the expenditure also. So we need some financial regulation uh, of the United Nation, and also we need more funding for its better regulation. So these are all the reforms and challenges in the United Nations. And one of the very important challenge that India wanted inclusion in the United Nations Security Council, because as a territory, India is now largest population, and its need representation. So these are also an issue. China again and again not wanted India to become the part of United Nations Security Council. So it's again and again doing veto against the India. Even though India was allowed in UNSC as a non-permanent member, so India wanted more things in the UNSC. So this was also an issue. And the next thing is UN jurisdiction, a framework of global governance. What does it means? Because United Nation was a very famous United Nation responsible for the global peace. Anything anywhere happened, first we looks toward the United Nation, because United Nation gives commands to the countries for the back out from any region. But many times a lot of powerful countries do not accept the United Nation orders. Like USA many times neglect the United Nations orders, even in form of Israel Palestine war that happened during this period. There was no much effect of United Nation on the Israel country. So these are things also question the role of United Nation as a global peace and security promoter. And also lead to the question of human right also, because UN was a promoter and a protector of human right of humans. So these all things as created a lot of issue. And the next thing is, during 2006 it completed its 60-year anniversary. So there was some new step was taken, like the creation of building commission, peace building commission, acceptance of responsibility of international community case in case of failure of national government, establishment of human right council in 2006, agreement to achieve millennial development goals. So all these things were started after the 2005 on the 60 year anniversary. I included these here because maybe question ask in which year UN completed 60 year of its anniversary, or what are the new steps taken under it. So maybe question may be asked in this sense, so that's why I added this question here, these facts here. You just need to look into it. So these are the things that happen under the United Nations. And now next is India and UN reforms, a key role in the global governance. So India had a very, even today India has very active participation in the United Nation system. It's contribute in peacemaking operation. India has a large number of contribution in peacekeeping operation, because India also had the same sort of principle and faith in for the establishment of human right, protecting human rights, supporting sustainable development. So India also has a same ideology as same as United Nation. So this is also create some sort of trust between these two. And the second is in support for the demand. India always advocates for the United Nations demand, particularly the greater representation of developing countries in the Security Council. because a lot of now India called itself a leader of South means countries which are less developed or which are not get much representation earlier. So as India called itself a leader of South, so he also advocate for the rights of these people or these country. So these are the other things that India wanted: the expansion of United Nations Security Council. And the third one is the global leadership. India is a rising power in the growing in the global affair, but because now India has a largest population, not only in that sense but other also, like India's trade development, India's image now turning far more better, or India given its target to become one of the developed country by 2047. So these are the high aspiration of India, so that's how India want to become a global leader or a Vishwaguru. So for being a Vishwaguru, these all things that India wanted a reform and wanted a better representation, or a where India could take care of the different world or different underdeveloped or least developed country. So these are the things that led to the United Nations reforms or the Indian United Nation. But as all these things we have discussed, but there are still some of the limits in United Nation. Like even some of the people, even you have seen the memes. What is the most useless? These are the most useless things, and one thing is United Nation. So a lot of criticism against the United Nation was also there. What was the reason? Because first thing is the dominancy of the USA was the first thing that led to the questions against the credibility of United Nation. And the next thing is in its ineffectiveness to stop the key issue like corruption, and it's also not successfully able to stop the armed coups in Rwanda 1994 or Severnico, South Sudan. So a lot of human were killed in these situation, and UN was not very successfully safeguard the lives of those people. So this will also create the question on the credibility of United Nations. So these are the issues, but somehow it doesn't mean that United Nation is a failure. United Nation doing a lot of thing for the betterment of all these nations, or trying to create or trying to bring all the world in on one platform. Because on the regional organization there was one issue, that regional organization only talks about their region or their self interest, but as a United Nation, a world platform where the different countries get adequate participation, and they talks about the whole world as together. So these are all the benefits of the United Nation, and it was one of the very successful organization that framed or even running today very efficiently after the Second World War. And here are the challenges and challenge and opportunity. Like what are the challenges in front of? So as earlier I mentioned, what are the failures? So this failure also creating a challenge in front of United Nation. If something again happened, how United Nation will react to this? And now one challenge that added is even this in Israel Palestine were also created some of the loss to the UN credibility. Shifting political dynamics, like increasing the multipolar world after the all this block system, there is a rise of new power, like in Asia, rise of Asia, China economy, or India is emerging now a world leader. So a lot of new players were coming into the world politics. So these for that matter, United Nation needs to create a balance with these countries also. So this was also creating a shifting dynamics challenge in front of United Nation. And the second one is the global challenge. A lot of complex issues are emerging, like climate change, pandemic like COVID-19 happened, and a lot of humanitarian crisis like Israel Palestine was also, we can say, a humanitarian crisis. So here we need a effective coordination between the different country for addressing these issues. Even in the A climate change, it's not a one country issue, it's the it's a issue of the whole world. So even we have a common but differentiation responsibility like CBDR, but it still we needs to come with a forefront and with the more motivation for the better management of the climate change issue. So and the pandemic COVID-19 that happened, without the cooperation no international organization can work. So a lot of countries will were also a factor for the successful implementation of any policy. So these are the challenges in front of the United Nations. And the third one is maintaining a legitimacy. So a lot of skepticism, or we can say a lot of question on the UN credibility are emerged on the different time frame. A lot of question against these organization were framed, like some say it's very ineffective, it's not able to control the big countries or big power. US never admits or never accept the order of United Nations, or even because United Nations was not very successfully solve the issue in the Rwanda or the South Sudan. So these are issuelets for its ineffectiveness. Even Kashmir issue remain unsolved after going to the UN. So these are things question its credibility, that United Nations is not effective to solve the emerging issues in the different countries. So these are the thing in that. And here are the in the next slide, here some of the international organizations that play important role on the different issues, like Amnesty International. This is the one of the NGO for the protection of human right. So because you know the how human right issue was there, so it's promote for the respect for the human right, or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So it's belief for the government. So a lot of Amnesty International works for the different country in Africa and Asia. In India also Amnesty International participated. So it's the one of the advocates of the human right. And the second one is Human Watch. What Human Right Watch? So it's also an international NGO that involved in the research work. It's also advocate for the human rights. Like it is a UN based organization. So a lot of things like stop for the child soldier or child labor, or they were also stabilize the international criminal code. So all these organization works for the human right, especially some of the children, very minimum age children like 6 to 7 year old small children used to work in the dhabas or restaurants. So with the help of these organization, a human right organization, we able to this organization. So that's how these human right watch works. This organization was very helpful for the for creating a pressure on national government or international platform also. So that's how these organization works. And the next one is IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. It established in 1957. It's implemented by the US President Dwight Eisenhower Atom for Peace proposal. So it's promote for the peaceful use of nuclear energy. What is the peaceful use of nuclear energy? It's mean that it's prevents the military use, and it's regulation of the nuclear weapon that work for the military purposes. So these under the Atomic Energy Agency, civilian use of military, like for the energy production or for the research and R&D development. So for these things, these organization under this thing work. So it's created a peaceful atom for peace proposal. So this is the one of the another important organization. And the next is the World Trade Organization. So World Trade Organization, we all know, one of the very international famous organization. It what is do it formulate role for the rule and regulation for the global trade. Its set up in 1955, and its work as a successor of GATE, General Agreement on Trade and Traffics. It's created after the Second World War. So this GATE organization also work for the development of developing countries, because the World Trade Organization provides a lot of low interest or some of the interest-free loans to the developing and least developing country for the employment or for infrastructure development. So that's how these organization also helps. And the next is World Bank. So World Bank, we all know, it's one another very famous organization. It's work for the it's also created after the World War. So it's work for the human development, especially in education, health, or the rural development. So it's also enforcing of infrastructure, governance also. So it's also provides loans and grants to the member countries. So World Bank also contributes for the economic restructuring of the people. In earlier classes, we studied how these international organizations like IMF, World Banks led to the restructuring of the countries of in the shock therapy, how Eastern European countries transform. So all these things we earlier studied about the organization. So mainly what we need to understand in this in these units, we need to understand when these organization came into formation and what are the role played by these organization. So this is all enough, I think, for the from this topic. So we need to understand when these for like IEA when created, under who formulated is, and like Human Right Watch belongs to the USA, Amnesty International works for the human right safeguard. So these are things we need to remember. So this is all in this topic, and here are the MCQ of the chapter. Like the first question on the World Trade Organization, like who succeeded from it succeeded from the general gate or general agreement on the trade and traffic, as I mentioned you in earlier slide. So here the question frame on this topic, and here what are the match the following which belongs to the list 1 which list 2. So with this question you get some idea of how the question will be going to be came in the examination. So this logo question has been asked in CUET exam earlier. So this is how I have framed this question. It really helps you to grasp the topic, or so with the help of this question you can navigate your preparation, that how where you are lacking, are you going in the right direction or not. So this is how you can do these things. I hope I have done with the whole subtopic. So this is all in this topic. I don't think so I have left anything. So this is all for today. In next class we will see the next topic. What is that? Security in contemporary world, we will study in next chapter. So this is all for this today. Okay, thank you all.